What I want to do is very briefly talk to you about some of the activities within the county and what we believe is probably relatively important, and how a number of different concepts actually interweave to form probably one of the most important economic development activities or ventures or projects, however you want to talk about it, in Pima County for about the last 20 or 30 years. You'll see that 40,000 basic jobs are sitting in this southern corridor within Pima County, anchored by Raytheon at the Tucson International Airport with about 11,000 employees. And if you then go to the other side of the room, you'll find that you get about 7,500, 8,000 at the Science and Tech Park. What I'd really like to talk about is how do we basically make this particular employment corridor important now and in the future. We need to basically remove the constraints that prevent Raytheon from expanding in place. And so what the Board of Supervisors decided to do is take a pretty bold step for them. They went out and bought $5.9 million of property on the south that had been threatened to be developed over and over again, either residential or some type of industrial, that would have provided significant adverse impact to Raytheon's future expansion. In all this discussion about Tucson International Airport has always been the anchor with regard to employment in the community, whether it's Bombardier, whether it's Ascent, whether it's Raytheon, whether it's any number of other small manufacturers in the aerospace and defense industry. There's been a study by MAG, PAG, and CAG. Now, those are all obviously very odd titles. Pima Association of Governments, Maricopa Association of Governments, Central Arizona Association of Governments. It's all of the counties that are aggregated into what we call the Sun Corridor. And so their discussion began looking at where would be the best logistics center for product distribution and receiving products and et cetera within the state of Arizona. And they began with 16 sites. They narrowed it down to 4 sites. And one of the top sites that remains in the running and is probably #1 is the Tucson International Airport environs. But what we said is that you can get 2,800 acres here and you can make it available for the development of aerospace and defense, new businesses, expansions, suppliers, everybody else who basically needs to aggregate around either the already basic employment we have at the Tucson International Airport, growing employment, or logistics employment. So it's really kind of looking at the next largest job center development within Pima County.
Employment sectors here have seen increases, and that's good. Our unemployment rate here of 7.2% is still below the state average. That's a positive situation for ourselves. And even though there's been kind of a slow increase in overall product output, I think our retail sales are another positive indicator, and our retail sales are showing a 7.3% increase from last year. I think that bodes well. Many of you are very in tune with the housing market, and you know there's some positive signs there. Our house prices continue to move up, and we also have seen reducing inventories and foreclosures diminishing, so I think those are all positive signs. And all of this is having a good impact on the primary funding source that the city of Tucson counts on, which is our general fund. And so the city's sales tax revenues compose about 42% of our general fund. And again, we've seen increases there since 2010, so that's a positive sign. In fact, retail sales tax collection have increased 7.6% over the prior 12-month period.
Now I'm just going to kind of guess about 2013. My opinion in 2013, I see continued improvements of absorption and rental rates. I believe the improvements will be modest, kind of similar to what the difference between 2011 and 2012. As far as sales activities, cap rates will continue to be adjust to benefit property owners, and probably see most of the sales to be under 50,000 square feet.
The year end was very, very busy. The largest residential land deal that happened last year happened in the last week of the year by D.R. Horton. We have Mr. Marion, great name, closed on the $14 million transaction for about 270 plus lots is Saguaro Bloom. That's in the Saguaro Springs area, Twin Peaks. That came in at about just around $51,000 per fully improved lot. Also in the month of December, not one but two more high-rise deals in the overlay zone. Campus Acquisitions closed on their second tower, which they'll be leveling the retail frontage stores in front of the existing tower they're building. And also Core closed on a project at the corner of Tyndall and 2nd, and they will be doing another tower. That's going to represent close to 2,000 beds in that, more beds in that district. So quite a bit of activity.
What can we learn? Landlords, building owners, a lot of them still don't get it. Engage your tenants early and try to do a deal. Lock them up. Because if you don't, they're going to start looking around on their own, or worse, they're going to hire someone like me to look around for them and take them out of there, or you're going to negotiate with me to renew their lease and pay me for the privilege. So, I mean, not a real good option. Well, for me it is, but not for you. As far as, and do the deal, within reason, do a deal that makes sense. Maybe it's not what you projected, maybe it's not what you budgeted. Keep them there at least for a couple more years. I really believe that will be a difference, not significant, but it will no doubt be better in a couple years. Finally, we just have to continue to do what we got to do to get us through all this, and before we know it, things will be much better. And maybe, just maybe, this whole working more for less philosophy will be a distant memory. So, thank you.
The good, maybe the bright spot in the apartment market is, I didn't tally any of the sales last year, but we had purpose-built student housing projects move for the first time since 2007. So we had some action there. And there is some pretty strong demand for rationally priced apartment building investments. Now, finding something that's rationally priced is somewhat challenging, but we're working on it.